Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. My name's Colleen Galvin. I'm a director on Mastercard's North America Small Business Team. I'm joined by my colleague, Alan Laquathi, who is running the webinar for us this evening. Thank you, Alan. And we're very excited to bring you to the fourth and final in our four-part series about practical AI for small businesses. This is part of Mastercard's Digital Doors program, which is meant to help small businesses like yours to thrive online and to do it safely. We launched this program in 2020 when things were very dire in the height of COVID, but we have since evolved the curriculum and the content to ensure that we're keeping up with your digital needs. And really, this is a program that's not just about goodwill. Certainly, MasterCard understands that you, as small business owners, are the backbone of the economy. And so we know that when you do well, we do well. And we feel a strong responsibility as a company that sits at the intersection of technology and commerce to ensure that we're putting the wind at your backs by sharing our knowledge of innovative new technologies and helping you to keep up with the pace of change. So that's why we felt it was very important to dig down a little more deeply into the different areas of artificial intelligence. And so tonight you're going to hear from one of our MasterCard colleagues, as well as a small business owner like yourselves, about the intersection of AI and cybersecurity. It is such an important topic and it's often overlooked. Small businesses may think, oh, cybersecurity is just vulnerable. So we're very fortunate to have our MasterCard colleague, Carolyn Esposito, who's with us as a director of security solutions here at Mastercard, and she specializes in small business security solutions. She was always my go-to whenever I have questions about cybersecurity for small businesses. She's a seasoned professional with over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry, and she has a deep understanding of payments and risk management, and a particular focus on helping small and medium-sized businesses to navigate the complexities of cyber resiliency. She's passionate about empowering small businesses, and I've seen firsthand she's actually mentored small businesses here in New York City to help them with their cybersecurity and marketing challenges. We're also super excited to have our partner Tiffany Ricks here with us. Tiffany is the founder and CEO of HacWare, a leading AI-powered cybersecurity company that helps small businesses protect themselves from phishing attacks and human error. Tiffany participates in Mastercard's Start Path program for fintech companies. She has over 15 years of experience working with organizations like the U.S. Air Force and L3 Technologies. She understands the challenges that lean teams like yours face and is also passionate about making advanced cybersecurity simple and accessible. And that's what we're here to do tonight. So we're very lucky to have both of them. I would just ask that folks, so that we can keep on schedule, certainly put your questions in the Q&A. We are going to hold them till the end if that's okay. And we'd love to hear if you'd like to put in the chat the name of your company, where you're hailing from. And with that, I'll hand the floor over to Carolyn.
Thank you. I am going to share our presentation and then we can get started. We actually have a quick poll that we're going to do. And let me share our screen at first. There we go. And great. I think everybody can see the screen now. So our first question is, how confident are you with using AI for your business? Simple. Are you extremely confident? Are you somewhat? Or are you not very confident? So maybe this is going to help you get a ground experience with AI. So this is helpful for us to gauge where you guys are today. And then obviously, with that, that's going to help our discussion lead us into how cybersecurity is going to help you, or some tools and tricks on what to look for, and then how AI can obviously help enhance those preventative measures. And actually, Tiffany is our AI expert, so she's going to help us with that. So let us know when. Oh, here we are. So, okay, great. So, somewhat confident and not very confident. Great. Well, I hope that at the end of this experience, that we all walk away with a little more experience and a little more confidence in using AI for your business. So, as we go through this, as I said, I'll be taking you through the ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity and what you may encounter as a small business. And Tiffany's going to obviously add on that AI lens as an expert in that area so that we can help you use AI to reduce risk and strengthen your defenses. So, great. Now let's get into that. So, cyber attacks against individuals, nonprofits, government agencies, and businesses of all sizes have been rising, and it's going to continue to rise, with many attacks even being powered by AI. So artificial intelligence is the new fun, shiny object that cyber criminals are enjoying using. Where there is a threat with AI, it is also a way that we can help prevent cyber attacks from happening. So this is very important to have this discussion now. Because small businesses are often attacked, they have a reputation of being that easy target for cyber criminals. That's why we're here today to talk about it. Right? Large companies have an amazing staff, right? They have resources at their fingertips of these cybersecurity experts and an array of cybersecurity solutions that make it very difficult to break into, right? So this makes the small business seem like an attractive target. You might not have the resources at your fingertips that large companies do. So cyber criminals also know that every little piece of data that they can steal, no matter where it comes from, how they get it, is valuable on the dark web, right? These guys are motivated by the financial advantage of selling your information on the dark web. And this makes it very enticing for them to want to target small businesses because you're easier to penetrate and get the data than a large company. But don't be fooled. You know, like out in the media, you see all these headlines, and they're reporting on the big companies that do fall for some of these cyber threats. But that doesn't mean that small businesses aren't being attacked. In fact, small businesses account for 43% of cyber attacks annually. Now, let's look at a few ways that we can better protect you guys and your businesses and hopefully prevent them future attacks by leveraging AI. So we're just going to go through some simple, easy to do things that are actually things that you should be doing for yourself as a regular person as well as a business owner. All right. So the first thing that you need to do is implement a strong password policy for yourself and your employees at your business. You should always use unique, complex passwords of 14 to 20 characters, even passphrases, right? So make it a sentence, a short sentence, right? That you're going to remember that mixes up characters and symbols and things like that. That make it difficult for hackers to guess, right? So hackers are using computers. They're using systems that are going to try and break your code. So the harder you make it, the more complicated it is, the harder it's going to take them longer to actually break. 63% of data breaches, in fact, result from weak or stolen passwords. And you know, the scary part is the most common password is the word password. Scary that people think that that's not breakable. Or numerical, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seems logical because you're going to remember it. But if it's easy for you to remember, it's very easy to crack then. Just keep that in mind. So even at Mastercard, what we tend to tell people is use a passphrase that includes the words, numbers, and symbols for the best protection. But no matter what you use, you need to ensure that these passwords are updated regularly and changed, right? And those for those like myself that find it hard to manage passwords, like you're writing them down in places, keeping them somewhere, you might want to look into getting a password manager. And we've provided a couple of recommendations on this slide and the future slides. I just want to say that these are not recommendations. These are examples of what you can look for. So please do your homework. And if you're interested in a password manager, Google it, look for the different password managers that are out there and what's going to best suit your needs. Okay, I just want to point that out. But here for the example of password managers is LastPass and 1Password as an example. You might also start hearing things about passkeys. Now, passkeys are more secure and more convenient as an alternative to passwords. Now, this is very new. It's not ruled out. You're not going to see passkeys everywhere that you will maybe eventually. But for right now, really keep your passphrases and passwords very strong and keep changing them. One thing that you should do also, and this is a great tip, is check out this website, Have I Been Pawned? Now, this website, once you put in your email, is going to tell you all of the breaches where your that your email has shown up on, right? And it could tell you if there's been passwords, names, your social security number, how scary is that have already been leaked and how. And this can help you identify where you need to go to change your password maybe and make sure that that account has not been compromised. So definitely write that down. Have I been pawned? And it's spelled differently, so keep that in mind. But even if you Google, have I been pawned, it will come up. But AI can help with these password managements, right? Right, Tiffany?
Absolutely. And this is great information, Carolyn. I'm just soaking it all up. So I hope everyone else is soaking it up. Um, and just to piggyback off of password managers, so AI has added advances to password managers that make it easy for you to build, to make your password policy stronger, to make your passwords stronger. And you don't have to go in like a modern password manager often is already incorporating AI into their algorithms. And so there's three ways that I have seen AI make passwords easier for you. The first way is that it helps with generating a smart password. So now with these password managers, you can ask it to generate a password. And if AI is enabled on it, what that does is it helps you build a strong password, a unique password, but also it is taking into account recent breaches that has looked for certain patterns. So its recommendation engine will recommend for you to create this password and it takes the guesswork out of it. So I always recommend using a password manager to help you generate strong passwords. The second way that password managers have been enhanced by AI is that they have internal dark web monitoring. And so it's scanning to the dark web to see if any of your passwords have been leaked to the dark web. And so as you go into the system, you'll see alerts that will tell you these passwords have been leaked, and they'll give you step-by-step instructions on how to regenerate a stronger password, how to update those systems. And so that's super important. And then the third way that password managers have been enhanced by AI is that they're doing continuous hygiene checks on your existing passwords. So they're looking to see, do you have any weak passwords that are by the standards of today? Because cybersecurity is always evolving, and so are recommendations for stronger passwords. And so it'll give you a score on how strong your password is today. It'll also tell you if your existing passwords are being reused, if we see that there's a trend that they have been reused in other sites. And so it gives you those actionable insights on how to build a stronger password. And then just one quick thing, just to piggyback off of password managers and password policies. You can also go into your email platforms, all your different systems. A lot of them are enabling AI, and they're helping you create password policies for your users and as they log in. And so you can set up rules where require these users to log in if some sort of behavior change is happening in the users, or if it detects that there's something that looks like it's risky with your account and your team's account, it will automatically issue a password reset. So definitely leverage a password manager that enables AI to make your password management easier, but also look at all the different systems, look at their password policy rules. Oftentimes they're leveraging AI to help with understanding if there's a breach that happens, trying to stop that um, from furthering causing damage. And yeah, so let's move on to the next slide.
Great. So good password management alone is not enough anymore, shockingly. But there's ways that we can help. So if you're banking, and you might have already seen this, you might have already been asked and prompted to enable multi-factor authentication, MFA. And this is commonly in your banking apps or in your email. Some other apps are, in fact, also asking if you want to use multi-factor authentication. And what it is it's using biometrics, like your face or your fingerprints, sort of like you're on your iPhone. And there's other options, like an option to text or email a code to you, like an RSA token even, or a separate app like Google and Microsoft Authenticator. So those are two examples of where you can also manage your multi-factor authentication. And those tools give you a code in order to log in. So you'll have to go to your phone to that app. You get the code for that one-time usage. You go back to the website, you put the code in, and then it verifies that it's you. And this is the way that you're going to ensure that you and only you are really accessing your banking information. It provides that extra layer of security, taking it longer, obviously, that we talked about earlier, for someone to crack. But I'm sure there are other ways that AI can also help MFA solutions, right, Tiffany?
Absolutely. What I love about seeing how AI is helping this space is that it's trying to balance security with user convenience. And that's the whole goal with cybersecurity. We're always trying to figure out, how do we balance security, but also we're not restricting you from doing the great things that you need to do. And so I see that a lot of the multi-factor solutions, including the ones that's recommended, or that is examples on this slide, they do have AI enabled. Again, you don't have to turn it on. It's all in their algorithms. But where I see it making those tools easier is that it looks for patterns of our user behavior, of our behavior and how we are logging in, what devices that we're using. And so it creates a pattern. And if we operate within those patterns, it's considered low risk. And so it'll allow us seamless access into our systems because it feels like we want to ensure the user can get to their system. We don't want to cause more friction than necessary. But when you're operating outside of those patterns, then AI, it will detect that your behavior has changed. Maybe you are logging in on a different device, or you're logging in into a system at a time that you never log into these systems. So then it will alert and it will move up and flag your system as a high risk. Now, what AI will do is it would add various levels of security for you to verify before getting into these accounts. And this is super important. The technology is taking an adaptive approach. It's trying to understand, which systems, which patterns are you possessing. If you are following those patterns, is going to allow you in. It's trying to avoid disrupting you and your users from getting into these systems. But if it realizes that you are outside of the patterns, now it's going to add a healthy level of disruption, which we want. We want friction if we're out of these patterns, because it could be a cyber criminal and it's going to require you to go through some further levels of verification. So those are some exciting changes that I've seen AI provide us with our multi-factor solutions. We can go to the next slide.
Great. So ransomware. Now, ransomware is very scary because nobody wants this to happen. So we want to talk about ransomware protection and response. Um, it's important because we see over 22% of all cyber attacks on small businesses were because of ransomware. That's a lot. There's a lot of different types of attacks, so 22% is actually a very high amount just for one particular ransomware. Now, these forms of attacks have become one of the most prevalent and damaging threats because we're the most susceptible as humans, right? Most ransomware attacks begin with a phishing email where unsuspecting people like you and me fall for a trap that catches us in a cyber attack where maybe we got an email that, we got it from PayPal saying we have an urgent invoice that we need to pay. That's the most popular one I keep getting. Or a text message offering me jobs. I've never, remote jobs especially, that I've never thought about or interviewed for. Those really, those seem simple enough. And like, yeah, maybe it would make me think twice about catching, or thinking that they could be fraudulent, especially if you have a PayPal account and you're active on PayPal. Maybe you just literally think, oh, maybe I missed an invoice. So that catches you. And what it does is when you click on that attachment, it is loading malware onto your computer. And when you engage with that text, it might look like a mistake, but it's not. They're actually engaging you. They might pull your emotional heartstrings in some way or manner, but they are trying to get information out of you so that they can make it easier for them to get the data that they want to sell on the dark web. Don't forget, it's one big cycle. They want to get the easiest target, they want to get the information, and then they want to get a financial gain in some way. It is nearly impossible to keep business operations running when you have a ransomware attack, right? It disables your computers, your devices, and it steals and encrypts business data, right? So this is that's why it's very important that you update and do data backups very frequently. In fact, a lot of times, depending on the industry and what type of consumer data you have, like, is it healthcare? Are you a doctor? Are you, then maybe you, or a lawyer for that matter, maybe you want to do multiple backups of the information that you have, because all of that information is very rich, right? So you have your consumers or your customers in mind, and you need to do your business. So you don't want to seem susceptible or fall for an attack where you could potentially lose that information, because you're never going to replicate it if it's encrypted by a cyber criminal. And I will say that there are a few best practices, though, that we can adhere to help prevent from you falling victim to anything. Like, never click on links or downloads, anything that comes from an unknown source, right? So when you get that email from PayPal and you're like, I don't know if this is real or not, if you just roll your mouse over the from area, you will then see a pop-up that gives you the real email address of where that's coming from. And most likely it is from an email that is not associated from PayPal and you have never seen it before in your life. That way, it's an easier way to identify whether or not you should block it, and then also make sure that you put it under like either a phishing, notification or spam. If you are unsure of if an email or text or even a call, because that happens a lot, right, is safe, you can simply hang up the call. Look up the organization's customer service phone number. Like if it's a bank claiming to be a bank, hang up that call, take your card out, and on the back of the card is always a number. You call that number, and the customer service people will confirm if it's legitimate or not. But never, and this is like above and beyond, never share your computer screen with anyone who's reached out to you. So unless you say, my computer is broken, I need help, then you can obviously engage your IT support or anybody that you have reached out to. But if anybody is reaching out to you and you see a pop-up message saying, I need to access your computer screen, that's a hard no. Don't fall for that. And this might be controversial, but I just want to say this. If you are attacked by ransomware, we do have on this screen the tools that can help. We have nomoreransom.org, which is a great organization. It is free. If you go to this link, you will be able to then see all of the different encryptions depending on what the cyber criminal is using, and it can help you unencrypt the data that has been stolen. So this is a great way of trying to, if you've fallen victim, trying to get out of it, but never pay. And this is the controversial part. Never pay for ransomware for unencrypting your data because, and this is coming from me, not from Mastercard, but I will say that you're not 100% sure, even if you pay, that you're getting the data back. That's why backing up your data is very important and just gives you things to think about. Now, this is an area where also AI can be used to help as well as hurt you. We like to talk about the helping, obviously, but this is how phishing is also using AI, right, Tiffany?
Yeah, and Carolyn, those were great tips on how to identify phishing and how it leads to ransomware. I'm going to spend a little time talking about how cyber criminals are leveraging generative AI to get phishing emails into these systems and how ransomware is getting and locking down systems. But cyber criminals, they're now leveraging OpenAI, ChatGPT, and other AI systems to create phishing emails. Um, and what I looked at is from September of last year to February of this year, 82% of all the phishing emails that have went out, we've detected that AI was a part of generating those phishing emails, and they're generating them to make them seem realistic, to have the organization's tone, um, to avoid misspelled words. There was a recent report that OpenAI put out that shows like the prompts that cyber criminals are using in Gen AI. And one of them was asking Gen AI, how do I create an email attachment that would not get blocked by an email security solution? And so they're trying to understand, what are the rules? What are these email security solutions looking for in an attachment? And I want to know how to bypass that. So when I send my phishing email that has this attachment that has malicious code in it, when they open it, I can infect these systems. And so that's how cyber criminals are leveraging AI. And the key thing that I also just want to mention is that cyber criminals, they have various motives, and oftentimes small businesses think that they don't have anything that a cyber criminal would want. It could be a relationship that you have. It could be maybe you will partner with a nonprofit organization that they just don't agree with. And so cyber criminals know to target your organization because they know that you most likely haven't locked all the doors cybersecurity wise, and they can easily get access to really what they want by going through you, and that's supply chain attack. So great information, Carolyn. I wanted to kind of give some color on how cyber criminals are getting into these organizations using AI.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing I forgot to mention is if you have cyber insurance,
Mhm.
some cyber insurance policies actually cover or can help you with ransomware.
Mhm.
So always look at your policies if you have one. Okay, and we'll move on. Because this is an essential thing that everybody should be doing, which is employee training and awareness. So this isn't just for your employees, it's also for you, right? Because 95% of all attacks are caused by human error. Um, you weren't trained or you weren't aware of what to look out for, and that can really be detrimental to your business. So having that knowledge or having an idea of what you are potentially vulnerable with, this is essential to educate on a continuous basis. This isn't just a one-off, educate one time, move on, because as somebody noted earlier, I forget if it was Colleen or Tiffany, that cyber is ever evolving, right? So there are newer advancements happening all the time. Phishing and social engineering attacks that target your employees as a weak point in cybersecurity defenses could become even more sophisticated than what Tiffany was just talking about with Gen AI improving the way phishing emails look and can appear as realistic. So you need to ensure all your employees are trained, including, and this is very important, accounting. Anybody who can touch money and improve money movement, right? So your accounting or finance folks and your executives. So if it's yourself or if you have anybody else within your organization that can approve invoices being sent out and where it's being sent out, those are the people that are going to be often targeted. So continuous cybersecurity awareness training is essential. And there are a few free online resources that can help you with this. So a few that we have links for here and that I think Colleen had mentioned she'll also provide is Cyber
Yep.
Readiness Institute, as well as the Global Cybersecurity Association, the Cybersecurity Toolkit. So in those both, they actually include employee education resources that can help you. We also have the Mastercard Trust Center, which is an overall resource of cybersecurity. And this is mainly depending on your level, right? So we built it in 3 different levels. If you're like a novice, just starting out, you don't know anything, to the expert. And then you can kind of do your own learning journey that way. And then obviously all of these links are in this presentation, but what I really wanted to learn more from was from Tiffany because of how HacWare, which does a lot of employee training, especially on phishing, how they do it. And I thought this would be a great chance for Tiffany for you to talk a little more about that.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, so preventative care, like we look at security awareness as preventative care, and it's always good to be on the preventative side of anything because that ensures that you're prepared, that ensures that whatever it is that you're doing, you have longevity and you're not in reactionary mode, which is oftentimes expensive. And just not a good resource, not a good way to utilize your resources. And so, from an AI standpoint, I can talk to you about what we're doing in the security awareness space and just the overall benefit of using AI in security awareness. The overall benefit, before I talk about how we do it, it's helpful because you're going to ensure that your users are going to get relevant training. It's timely training. And really, what we're trying to avoid is unnecessarily putting your users through long, boring training that doesn't help them with their cybersecurity or further your company outcomes. It's just checking the box. That's what we want to avoid. And AI helps with providing that tailored training. But the way that HacWare, and this is our core business, the way that we help small businesses with their security awareness needs is we do it in 4 ways. So with our system, we have a fish finder. So what that does is it scans the entire web and it's looking for how are cyber criminals phishing organizations today. So now we have relevant intelligence on how we need to prepare the user. Then the next step is the team finder. So now it's looking for it integrates with your email to identify which users and what type of training they need. We take a different approach to cybersecurity awareness where we start with phishing first. So it will then generate a phishing simulation first. And that's important because we're trying to show your users that they do need to know, they don't know everything about cybersecurity. We often think that we know everything, we know how to identify a phish. And so this helps with showing the different ways that a cyber criminal could target them. So it will generate the simulated phish and then enroll them into the corrective training. And so then we repeat. It starts all over again. And so this is ways where AI is automating tailored training, but your team doesn't have to become a cybersecurity expert to try to build out these tests and training and simulations. We take the guesswork out of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Nobody likes the guesswork.
Nobody
But
wants to work unnecessarily.
no, but speaking of works, now that everybody is working remotely or hybrid working setups, is a great segue into into that piece. You now have more devices that access your networks, right? So this is um, increasing the risk of endpoint compromise. Now, what is endpoint, and what does that mean? That's any physical device. So it's your mobile phone, it's your tablet, it's a laptop, anything that connects to a network and exchanges information. To help protect your network, you should deploy endpoint detection and response. This is EDR. You'll see that a lot. Solutions that will monitor and protect your devices from things like malware and other threats. Now, regular patching of software and operating systems is very essential, as this will ensure that any detected vulnerabilities are taken care of. The great example is this is when you get an software update on your iPhone. Normally, Apple is pushing out updates because they've detected either a vulnerability in their system that they are trying to close or patch up, right? So they don't want to be open and susceptible to have, people maybe hack into your iPhone. They want to shut it and lock the door and make sure that everything is secure. And that's why when patches come out, software patches like on your iOS system or Microsoft, you need to initiate those patches when they are sent out. A lot of people, especially, and I get it, small businesses, it can sometimes disrupt how you're doing business. So you might push them off, but don't, because this is how cyber criminals will find their way in, right? So they're finding the doorways that you've left open, just to keep that scenario that Tiffany started with locking your door, continuing on with that, because it's important, right? Now, you can also think about purchasing antivirus software, and you should, or using a virtual private network. That's what a VPN is called, to monitor who can access your devices and data. So you're allowing people, you're actually saying, yes, you can access the device. You're legitimate. I know you, and I want to give you access so you can actually do your work. And one easy thing that you can do, and this is because of hybrid and remote working, very essential. We all started working from home, and you're using your home network with your business. Or you go to a coffee shop, and that's where you normally do your business, right? Maybe you're online on your laptop in a coffee shop. That's great. But what you should be using is a VPN to make sure that you are not giving out any of your information over a public Wi-Fi. Maybe, that's never a good thing, because then anybody also on that Wi-Fi has access to it if they wanted. So you wanna also be able to prevent and provide your guests with, well, prevent your guests from getting into your network, but also provide them with Wi-Fi. So if you have friends that come over and you're using your home network as your work network, but they also want to log on. Well, what an easy way is, and I have Spectrum here in New York, that's my internet provider. I can actually in the app create a guest Wi-Fi, and that's what I use for everybody else. I use my home Wi-Fi for myself, however. It's very easy to set up. I believe all internet providers do this service. You don't have to pay for it. It's just setting up a guest network. I would also recommend always changing the name of your router and password from the one that they give you. So Spectrum gave me my name. I can change that to whatever I want. And then obviously the password to access that router. Now, but there are, I'm sure, a few other ways that we can leverage AI to protect these endpoints. And besides the ones that we have here, such as like the antivirus software that you might have heard of, McAfee and Norton, for example, but also malware solutions like Malwarebytes. I'm sure there's a slew of other ones, right, Tiffany?
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I like about what's happening in AI and endpoint protection is that it is improving detection. It's making finding the malware that has infected these systems faster. Traditional antivirus solutions, they rely on signatures, which is like a fingerprint. And if the malware doesn't fit that fingerprint, then it's hard to detect. And oftentimes you hear about malware going undetected for over 200 days. And so that's a lot of data that a cyber criminal could be collecting. They're collecting passwords, they're collecting your systems that you typically are going to. They have your files, your data. Um, and so what AI is doing in this space is that it is looking more at patterns. So it's looking similar to how I talked about MFA, where it's trying to understand your login patterns or your access, your how you access systems patterns. What this is doing is that it's looking at your device patterns and it's looking to try to understand are is your system now operating out of its normal pattern? And that is, and then it will quarantine either that application and hold it until you determine or you say that, okay, I want to allow this application to continue operating. But that is faster because the way that ransomware and malware works today is that it's trying to go undetected. So oftentimes, when it gets onto a device, it will morph into something else to try to help it go undetected. And so, when you have these malware solutions or these antivirus solutions that have AI enabled, it's improving detection. And again, you don't have to turn them on. A lot of these solutions are creating algorithms to improve detection.
Yeah. Great. And now we get to AI. So this is, once again, AI can be used to help as well as be a part of a cyber threat. So it's good to better understand the landscape here of AI on both sides. So AI and machine learning, they're increasingly being used to detect and respond to those threats faster. Just like what Tiffany was saying, they're finding them faster and easier than traditional methods. And you can improve your threat detection capabilities by leveraging AI, as we've been talking about. For example, some cybersecurity companies like SentinelOne and HacWare even are using it to find suspicious activity and potential threats by continuously analyzing vast amounts of data. So we're talking about there is continuous massive amounts of data that a human would take them a long time to get through. AI can do it like that. And so it's making this a much faster, easier to detect capability. However, while you can use AI to prevent those cyber attacks like we've been talking about, threat actors are also using it to create sophisticated deep fakes, like fraudulent video messages. There's a very famous example of this where in Hong Kong, there was Singapore, there was a low-level like manager level that got a call from their CFO demanding that he release funds right away for a very important deal that was happening, and it needed to happen right then. And it was millions of dollars, and it was a video with voice. So it looked real, but it was a deep fake coming from AI, from cyber criminals. And he fell for it, and he actually released the funds. And this became big news because this was the biggest, I think $20 million was lost because of this. Now, nobody wants to fall for those types of impressions, right? So CEOs, CFOs, any founder, any, important person within an organization can be impersonated. Like I said earlier with the training, you want to make sure anybody who can touch money is trained. Also, what we've been learning, and these are sort of like, we're talking about high-tech stuff, but sometimes low-tech or low-touch solutions are really the way around it. So while, you might get a deep fake call or video call, what a lot of companies are instilling are phrases like safety words so that I can say, like if I'm allowed to release these funds, what is the safety word? And if the person that is impersonating your CEO or CFO, whoever, doesn't know that safety word, then you know to hang up, that it's not real. So this is another catch, right? Very low tech, easy, but it works. And so, you want to instill these practices and make sure that you're not going to fall susceptible for it. So you want to prevent them from happening. Obviously with AI, education awareness and training, like we said earlier, and having a response plan. So if something does happen, what are you going to do? What's your employees going to do if they all of a sudden realize they just clicked on something or they fell a victim to something? They need to know what they can do to either raise their hand and say, something has happened. I'm not quite sure what. I just need to make somebody aware, right? So as you know, and it's interesting, as we were preparing for this discussion, Tiffany brought up some great uses for AI that all businesses should use, which is AUPs, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So I know we're getting closer to time, but there's 5 things you want to incorporate into your AI acceptable use policy, your AUP. And the first thing you want to just outline the overall scope. And this is for we did a poll and we talked about use of AI in the organization. So I want to make sure that everyone in the organization who are using AI, you all create a policy across the board for use. And so you want to create scope on how you all are going to use AI. The second thing you want to incorporate is approve uses. So you want to list examples of how your organization could use AI. I know there's some sessions that talked about using it for sales and marketing um, uh, resources, or if you're going to use it for video creation, just really write down in your acceptable use policy, this is what AI is going to be used for. Second thing, we want to incorporate the policy, so data privacy and security requirements. So if you know that you work in an industry that requires HIPAA or GDPR, then you want to make sure that you're just because you're using AI, that doesn't mean you don't have to follow those laws. You still have to follow those laws. And so incorporating in your policy how to protect the data that you're putting into AI. What are you going to allow? What are you not going to allow? And then the fourth thing you want to incorporate is accountability and oversight. So you want to have someone or designate someone or time where you're going to go back and evaluate these processes. Who's going to approve any new AI tools that the team is going to incorporate? You got to write that down so everybody knows what the process is for handling AI. And then the last and final thing is you want to have a section in your AUP on ethics and legal considerations. And so you want to make sure that you're not violating any of your contracts. Your contracts may have that they don't want you to use Gen AI when you're touching their data. And so you want to make sure that you have that all spelled out so everybody in the organization knows we're using AI, how we're going to use it, how we're not going to use it. And so it's really important to note that into your AUP. And you can use Gen AI to create your acceptable use policy. So I wanted to make sure I brought that to your attention.
Great. And lastly, so this is really a summation of everything, right? You want to create an incident response and recovery plan. This is sort of like your first response plan. If you are susceptible or you fall victim to something, that you know what you're going to do. So the steps that you're going to take after a breach or cyber attack has happened. And the goal here is to resolve the situation that limits the damage, the time it takes to get back up and running for business, and the costs, more essentially the costs, right? Because those 3 things can put you out of business if mismanaged. So this plan is really it includes steps for identifying, containing, and recovering from that cyber attack. Now, I'm not going to go through everything, but the overview of this is the National Institute of Standards and Technology, aka NIST, have identified 4 stages, right? You need to prepare. You have to have a plan and a prevention of these incidents from happening, right? and what to do once they do happen. Detect and analyze. So who needs to be notified if something did happen? Do you have to reach out to your customers? Where was I vulnerable? You need to know where and how they got in. And then contain, eradicate, and recover, which really means figure out how you can recover from what was stolen and then stop that from being further compromised. And at the end of it, you want to have a post-incident analysis. You want to learn from this experience so you don't fall for it again and instill practices that are going to prevent these things from happening. So a formal plan is going to help you respond rather than react. And Tiffany, would you like to add anything here as a fellow business owner?
Yeah, I'll add a quick little tidbit. So this is extremely important. If you've ever been involved in a cybersecurity attack, it is extremely scary. Me, as a seasoned professional, it still scares me. So having an incident response plan is essential. It's a low cost thing to do. And from an AI standpoint, you can leverage Gen AI like ChatGPT to help you build out your incident response plan. But HacWare, we have created a phishing incident response workbook that you can download, and that's going to be in the chat. And so it really just outlines who do you need to call, what do you need to say. It's really important to make those predefined decisions so you can make sure that you're not falling for any missteps that could be costly. And so those are some tips I would give with regard to incident response plans. Oh, and then one more thing, make sure you test your backup. So if you're backing up your data, test to make sure that you can actually recover it. So that's part of your incident response plan as well.
And this is going to sound silly, but print out your incidents response plan
Yes.
because if it's on a computer that's been compromised, you will not have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple, but people have made that mistake. So at the beginning of the call, we asked what AI solutions you've used. And I can't see the chat, so somebody help me out here. What was the most common one?
Actually, Carolyn, I think we forgot to ask.
Oh, I thought I did. Oh,
We dove right
sorry.
in. I don't see that in the chat, but I did, as
Okay.
long as I'm off mute briefly. Tiffany, you have a lot of resources on your website, and I want to be sure to share
Yes.
the one you mentioned. So,
You
if
want to
you could,
go to
is it in
resources,
resources? Okay, I'm there. Yep.
resources.hackware.com
Hmm.
slash phishing dash incident dash response. And that's where you'll get
Okay,
that incident response
got it.
workbook. Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
And
I will
actually,
get that to you guys. Go ahead.
here on the AI tools, what we did was we wanted to also provide you with a list, right? So maybe you're not familiar with some of these, and you also wouldn't know what they were good for. So we wanted to put together a quick list covering a lot of different areas. There are some AIs that are good for image and videos, for example. Like if you were in retail and you were selling a shirt and you wanted to show the shirt on 5 different models in different sizes, there's an AI that can do that for you. Just taking one image and then literally they can create other model types. You can also create logos and other things, videos, for example. So different AIs here can help you in different ways. And of course, there's HacWare, which we have also included here as a way. And if you ever have to go back in here and use some of these, we would love to know if this was helpful and if you found any of these at all useful. And you can put them in the chat so we can read that later. That would be wonderful. The other thing, and just the last thing, is that I just want to remind everybody that at the beginning, there was a lot of somewhat comfortable and not really comfortable. So I hope after you've heard this, that you feel a little more confident about using AI and know that it is there to help you, but it also is there and it could be being used by cyber criminals. So we've given you ways of looking out for these things, but then also being able to take advantage of them and protect your business. So one thing that we always equate to, and I think we did a good job during the course of this conversation, is comparing your business to a house. You want to lock the doors, you want to do software patching, you want to do data backups, cyber insurance, just like home insurance, for example. There's a lot of commonalities, but people don't think of the obvious of protecting your business like you would your home. But it does take, and this is a great quote, after you've built your business for 20 years and that reputation along with it, it only takes a few moments for a cyber attack to destroy it. So let's do the work now so that you can rest assured that you're not going to lose your business in one quick foul swoop from a cyber criminal. And with that, I hope you've learned something, but I would love to know if anybody has any questions in the Q&A, Colleen, if you want to.
Fantastic. Yeah, folks, if you would like to come off mute and you want to raise your hand, we can take audio questions, or if you'd like to put a question in the Q&A for Tiffany or Carolyn, we can all stay on for a few more minutes. And again, if you found this helpful, it's really helpful to hear your thoughts in the chat. We don't do a lot of follow-up surveys because responses are hard to get, but it's always helpful to know what's working and what more we can do to help you. I don't see any questions yet. I don't see any raised. Oh, wait, there's a raised hand. Okay, hang on. I'm going to, let's see, can I get you off?
I just allowed them to talk.
Oh, fabulous. Thank you, Alan.
Let me get you unmute yourself.
It's C. Holland. You should be able to talk now. Hello, can you ask your question? No, maybe the audio's not working. But feel free to type the question in the chat. I'm sorry that we're having trouble getting you on audio. Anyone else? I'm going to check the Q&A again.
Oh, here's one.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you explain the best AI to help with POS systems? That's a great question.
Point of sale? Do you mean point of
Point
sale?
of sale. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think if there is one.
Well, that is a great question, because that system it has access to sensitive data. I would make sure, I don't remember how point of sale systems are built today, but I would say make sure you're updating the firmware that is on those systems. So always go into the settings, see if there's any updates. Make sure that you're not delaying and you go ahead and update that software and the hardware that's on that system. And so I think that is a suggestion that I would give. I'm not sure if any of the POS systems have AI already incorporated in them. A lot of these manufacturers and solutions are creating algorithms and leveraging AI. I don't know much about that, but I would say, as far as my answer is, just do the simple thing, which is update the software and firmware of your POS system. Carolyn, any
I would agree with that. Yeah, because a lot of those systems do rely on software. And so making sure those software patches are being made is essential.
And then one quick thing, like same thing as we mentioned before, passwords on how you access those systems. You want to make sure that you're leveraging a strong password in those systems. Each individual user, if they have different accounts, you're not sharing passwords across your team. We want to make sure that we set up the right level of strong password into that system.
Yep.
I want to make sure everyone saw that Tiffany updated the link that I butchered in the chat. So the phishing plan is there for you. Anyone else? Let's see. So C. Holland, who was trying to come off mute before, concern with AI gaining information from what we put in, and it's constantly learning from us. How can a business owner ensure it doesn't try to take over the system? That's a great point.
great question. This was something that I didn't get a chance to cover, and I'm glad you brought it up. So you want to make sure in any of these AI solutions that you go into the settings and you look for data controls, and in there you can turn off put them sharing your information into the public model. And so in ChatGPT, you'll go into settings, you'll find data controls. It's not under security. You may look under security in some of your other systems, but oftentimes they have a data control or data privacy. And that's where you can go in and you can turn off. And it sort of keeps your data inside of your system and is not being shared across various environments.
Yeah, good catch. Thank you for asking.
Mhm.
We have a question from Dr. Carrie Spell Hansen. Since the cyber attacks continue to get more sophisticated, should cyber insurance companies provide training annually?
Some of them do actually. We used to actually partner with a company that offered cyber insurance, and I know for they had lawyers that would actually sit with the companies that had policies to do training, as well as assessments on a regular basis. So you constantly want to also look at your data and your policies to make sure that you have enough coverage and what kind of coverage. Like I said, the ransomware sometimes is a supplemental insurance and is not covered. Other policies bundle things together. So you really have to pay attention to what's in there. But some companies do provide training as part of their service.
Great, thank you. Other questions?
I saw someone say the free version of their AI tool doesn't have those security controls. And so that's where you want to make sure you don't want to put your sensitive information into those tools. So that's where your AUP, your acceptable use policy, should say in this tool, because it's the free version, we're not going to put this sensitive information in it. But yeah, if you're leveraging one of the paid ones, they do give you that capability. So you want to make sure that you turn that on before you put anything sensitive like emails, customer emails into those tools.
You definitely have to think before you engage in the content that you're sharing. To the earlier question about like AI, they are taking everything that you're putting in there, and that's how it's learning and then creating other answers for other people. So yeah, just be aware and definitely create those policies so that everybody is on the same page with you. All right. I think that is everything. And I appreciate everybody's great feedback. It's wonderful to see. So thank you.
Thank you both. And this was a great session. There were questions about the materials. We are going to be sending a follow-up email with the links. Hopefully we can get the presentation and the video posted within a reasonable amount of time and get that out to all of you, as well as our complete 4-part Practical AI series. So thank you all for staying a little later. Thank you to our very knowledgeable presenters for all of the information they shared. And thank you to my colleague, Alan, for co-leading this session with us. I hope you all have a great evening.